Welcome to Here's How We Get There. It's the daily show filled with conversations about business and mental health in a down-to-earth style with real-world language. Now let's dive in with your co-hosts, Kenneth Shark-Kinney and Trey Tucker.
Trey, it's very often that we talk about creating teams where we really like each other and, have a lot of personalities mesh and perform well together. But is it okay if you're on a team, Saskets at a high level, to disagree with someone that you work with?
Absolutely. You better
Okay.
disagree on at least certain things. Absolutely.
It sounds like an obvious answer, but let me set up part two. Then let's say that you knew somebody was coming into your office or your workplace that the company was going to hire. And you didn't like them or what they stood for. Would it be okay for you to raise a stink about it and for that person to either not get hired or be fired because you didn't like them?
Depending on the person's position, if the concern is a character issue, I would think it's their duty to raise the character concern about a potential hire.
Out loud or behind closed doors?
I would think you go to the superior that you trust the most. I don't think you should make it a public thing. You should try to make it as much of a closed door meeting as possible.
So in principle, the reason I ask this is because Ronna McDaniel, who is the former head of the Republican National Committee, she is also she's the granddaughter of the Michigan governor, George Romney. And then she was the niece of former Massachusetts governor and then U.S. Senator Mitt Romney of Utah. She was hired by NBC and was going to be a contributing consultant, and speak about Republican issues as a consultant. As such, she was brought on to meet the press, and it really sort of caused a stink with a lot of people. She's also been labeled as a staunch supporter of Donald Trump, and a lot of the Democrats think she was someone who over maybe too much helped contribute towards whether or not he was elected, whether Joe Biden was elected fairly or not, which became obviously a huge issue. So everybody at NBC and MSNBC raised a pretty big stink on all the shows on TV, and there were a lot of print articles too saying this lady's got to go. She was brought in to basically be just like Fox has people on the Democratic side, and that even though they're primarily a Republican point of view, NBC and CNN are primarily liberal networks, Democratic side, and have a few contributors from the Republican side. So she was brought in, and then they all raised a stink on public, said that she never should have been brought on, that it was abhorrent, and all kinds of comments. Leadership, a few days later, 4 days later, backed those people up, their employees on TV that were raising this stink, and she was summarily let go after, I believe, only 4 days on a contract that was pretty substantial. I think I heard in the neighborhood that it was roughly $600,000 a year, which is pretty decent for a consultant to come on stations these days. But she's got a well-known name, and she's been in the public eye for quite some time. Now, from a principle standpoint, no, you wouldn't think that people to have a fit on air, or even if it was on social media, you would think most people would at some point just say, be quiet and get back to work. But their leadership backed those people up. Think of it from a basic principle level. What leadership did was wrong. If the people want to speak out loud against this lady, so be it. Let them speak. They could have handled it behind closed doors better. I don't think that the audience was overwhelming in comments. I'm sure there was plenty of chatter on Twitter I saw that was just, silly, typical social media stuff. But I don't understand why leadership didn't have the foresight to think this is going to be someone's opinion who's different from yours. And in this very polarized world, it's not like we're supposed to wear jerseys that say, you're green, I'm purple, or, you're blue, I'm red. And we can't get along and have a conversation, because at some point you're working for an employer to get a job done for the good of that company, not just because they need to be holden to your own ideals and values and what you stand up for. Even if you think they're wrong, sometimes what's basically needed that we don't do nearly enough is just have a conversation.
Yep. You gotta have the conversation. And it also comes back to the golden rule. How would you want somebody to treat you if they disagreed with you and didn't necessarily want you in their place of work? Would you want them to air out your laundry in public, or would you rather them come to you or handle things behind closed doors?
Yeah, there's no golden rule in politics or TV. So just doesn't happen.
Thank you for joining Shark and Trey on the Here's How We Get There show. Make sure to rate, review, and subscribe to the show and visit here'showwegetthere.com. That's here'showwegetthere.com.